Pleasure doing business with all of you this evening.
Well, hold on. We got one
Thank you
last.
for coming out to the stream.
Perry, you forgot. We got one more thing to do.
I already read all the plugs.
It's not what I'm talking about.
What are you talking about?
You got to get the boat and fill it with water and get in it and give yourself a
You're
little
out of your
bath
fucking
on
mind.
the stream.
That'll never fucking happen.
You already agreed to it earlier.
That'll never fucking happen in my apartment. Ever, 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 ever. I never agreed to that, you stupid jagoff. Good night.
Just get some hot water and ivory soap,
Fucking asshole.
a, a duck maybe.
Good night. A fucking rubber duck.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck you.
Oh, there he goes. Thanks, guys. No after hours tonight. I'm sorry. It's a little too late, and I got an early day tomorrow. But I wanted to come back and say thank you. I want to thank all the veterans out there. Happy Veterans Day, especially Garrett and Chaz, who are Team PCL. But literally everybody, thank you. I got to clear something up because something happened that I thought was planned, and then as it went along, it was very clear that it was not. So, what was a crazy, weird coincidence? There was a couple highlights tonight, but that whole bit where I guess it was maybe midway through the stream, I forget. Anyway, where Bryan Cranston was at the door with the pizza, and then he goes out to check what's going on, and then there was actually pizza there. That was not planned. That was done by two different people. I guess so. One person did the Bryan Cranston thing, and then a completely separate person had sent the pizzas. And I heard from both separately saying like, "Oh my god, I had no idea." So what looked like some kind of great grand orchestrated thing was really this miraculous PCL coincidence because I thought that worked really well. I mean, he just darts up, anyway, and checks it. I was like, okay, you're gonna check now. Obviously, Bryan Cranston's not gonna be there. Where's that gonna go? And then he comes back with pizza, which is crazy. It's so crazy. Like he actually at the moment that thing came up, there was pizza at the door, and it wasn't planned by the person who sent it. Because how can you plan it? Because you don't know when that's gonna come up. When you send in a like a media share or the comment, you don't know when it's gonna come up. So I just thought that was wild, and of course, both the guy who's I actually I'm not sure because there were two people that sent pizzas. So, but anyway, definitely the guy who sent in the Cranston thing was like laughing his ass off and like messaging me and like, oh my god, I had no idea. I did not send that pizza. This is crazy. So, it was just it worked out really well. So that was interesting. And then yeah, man, he raged out. That one point where he raged out, like with, like to the point where he almost knocked the camera over. It was crazy. A lot of music tonight. A lot of satanic stuff tonight too. But yeah, but that was for me like the highlight. Like just yeah. Yeah, I agree with Joey. Like the clip itself was like, oh, okay, it wasn't the most perfect ring computer graph ever, but it was fine. Look, you only got to get it past one guy, right? So I thought that was great. I thought that was really good. Just one of those, one of those things. And there was nobody in the hallway. And right, did you see Bryan Cranston? Like that would have been perfect if there were like those two kids that told him that there was a rhino. Like if yeah, he went that way, motherfucker. Yeah, lots of weeds tonight, especially early on. I'd say the first hour especially, everything was weeds. I felt like I felt like I had to work overtime tonight getting them out of the weeds. A lot of weedges. A lot of weedness today, I should say. Yeah, R.I.P. Dean Stockwell. Obviously, I had heard that he hadn't been doing well for quite some time, but yeah, great career. Always liked seeing him in things. R.I.P. I don't get the thing where people blame Perry for celebrity deaths. That either goes over my head or I just don't get the humor in it. It's like how late can you send in tip videos? I turned it off right as we were wrapping up, so right towards the very end. But I switched it off right when we had a lot of them tonight, and we were wrapping, and it was time to go. But usually right up until the end. Yeah, Joey says he needed a machete tonight to cut through the weeds. Jeez Louise. Did I ever insulate my room? Nope. No, I did not. But I'm getting to the point where I'm gonna try to get it done by the end of the year. So no, I'm wearing a sweater and a hoodie sweater on top of that, and it's pretty cold. So no. So the short answer is nope. I have not insulated the room yet. And I think my contractor's like not even talking to me too, because I like blew him, like, not that I blew him off, but I told him, hey, I can't finish this right now because he wanted to get it done right away. So I had sent him a text and it was unreturned. So I'm like, shit, do I have to find another guy now to do this? Oh, yeah, that's his new move, closing his eyes. Closing his eyes when he doesn't like something, like when it's like a 666 something. There was a lot of the same kind of thing tonight with that stuff. So yeah, I couldn't get on him every time. Mr. John Dung, hey TomB, saw the new Bond movie last night. Safe to talk about with spoilers. This was the first Bond movie where it felt like the writers clipped his wings. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how too spoiler you want to get. I think you can go light spoiler with it. Did you see it on T? I saw it came on like video on demand. I hope you didn't see it at home, or maybe you did. It doesn't really matter. It's such a bad movie. I don't know about construction suppliers lumber being crazy high. I mean, I just really need insulation, sheetrock, and shit. For those who don't know what I'm talking about, like the room I'm in my house, I got a little overly ambitious when I first moved in and needed to like half demo the room because I was going to turn it into a media room, and I sort of just ran out of money. So to be perfectly honest, I just got to get that situated. I don't think that's a new thing. Have I seen the new Dune? Yeah, I talked about it. I loved it. I saw it last week in IMAX. Was it last week or the week before? No, it was last Tuesday. I saw it. Loved it. Can't recommend it highly enough. Dune. By the way, I said this last week. I'll say it again. If you watch Dune on HBO Max, you have not seen the movie. Go out and see it in a theater, unless you have some killer setup at home. Killer setup with a huge screen. You have not seen it. Go see it if you could still see it in IMAX. I know that stupid Marvel movie, The Eternals, is that what it's called? I know that took over Dune in the IMAX theater near me, which I was pissed at because I was actually going to go see it again with a friend who hadn't seen it. But yeah, if you don't see it, try to see it in IMAX or Dolby Vision. If you haven't seen it, do not watch it at home is my advice, and you'll thank me for it. It's a very much a theatrical experience. Even if you can't catch it in IMAX per se, see it on the biggest screen you can. I was thinking about buying Perry an air fryer for his birthday. You know what? It would go unused probably because he's just so lazy. And I think the only thing he would use is like a George Foreman grill. I mean, I could ask him about it for you, Kitty, but I feel like it would be the kind of thing that would just take up space and like he'd want to throw away. That's my guess. Eternals. Okay. Is it called, I'm not even joking. I don't know the name of it. I just know that it came out, and I know it's supposed to be horrible. You went to Omega went to see it Thursday at Dolby Cinema and found out Eternals bumped it. Oh man, and you ended up seeing Eternals over Dune. Oh my god, that's crazy. Ugh, why would you see that? What about a new shop vac? Well, he doesn't have a shop vac at all. He has a wet dry vac, so that would be a thing. Oh, you rented. Oh, you torrented it. Okay, wouldn't pay for it. The scene in Cuba with the only trained for 3 weeks CIA agent was pretty fucking dumb. It's funny. That's the only scene I liked. That's one of the few scenes I liked was the Cuba stuff. Um, and made the entire infiltrating a Spectre party seem completely zero stakes. Yeah, the movie's a mess. The No Time to Die Bond movie. It's the worst Bond movie by far. By far, it's the basement of Bond. It's the Bond basement. It's terrible. It's awful. Awful, awful, awful. I thought the Cuba stuff was mostly good. That's the one of the only stuff I liked. I liked the very opening. Bobby he didn't watch Dune on his phone. Good lord. Um, but yeah, it's just bad. It's not Bond. It didn't feel like Bond at all. Just didn't. It's just really disgraceful. It's really disgraceful, and yeah, I just worry where they're going to take it going from here. I don't know. Just boring and just ugh. Very Jason Bourne-ish too, which not to knock Jason Bourne I never got into, but like Bond's been going after that for a long time. Oh, saw Dune already. I convinced you to see it in Dolby Theater. Uh, oh, you wanted to see it again in Dolby Theater? You didn't get to. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Right. Yeah. That sucks. Smiling Friends streaming Adults from Friday Night. I don't think it's the new season because I even asked them. I even asked the producer yesterday because Perry was going on that Pajama Pants podcast with Robert Eiler and Jamie Lee Sigler and Cassim, their co-host, and I wanted to have him promote Smiling Friends, and they didn't have a date, so we just said coming soon. Slug says, I'm guessing the new Bond is full of woke dog shit. That's what I thought it was going to be going into it, and it's got a little bit of wokeness to it. I mean, the main wokeness about Bond is he doesn't bang anybody. He doesn't bang any women. And then, people correct me on that and say, like, oh, no, he does. No, he makes love to this woman that he's in love with, the same woman from the last movie. But it's not even the wokeness that's the problem with the movie. There's so many other things. Did we work with Zach on that? I love all his work. So cool. Yeah, we worked with Zach very closely. Zach was the director of the live shoot. Zach and I pretty much directed Perry for his shoot, and then I've communicated with Zach ever since because they've needed some like little minor like tweaks, or they needed a photo at one point of Perry to that one of the shots that I guess they forgot to get, and this was like months later, and then Garrett actually went over to Perry's place and took some photos that are going to be used in the show. So yeah, Zach's a great guy. He's a huge Perry fan, and he's a huge PCL fan. So good. That's yeah, that's cool. And I'm very excited to see it. Why was the new Black 007 so contentious to start work when she first meets Bond? Yeah, I mean, I don't know. She had the attitude, everything. I felt like she lightened up a little bit, and I think Bond got some one-ups over her. Like, in particular, there's a scene where he goes into M's office first and kind of shuts the door on her. I thought, like, okay, that's nice that they give Bond that. But, like, there's that scene towards the end where they go into like the secret island base or whatever, and they're in that weird thing that like turns in from a drop plane into like a submarine, and she's driving and Bond's in the back. Give me a fucking break with that. Bond. That was just it was just weird. Yeah, but she didn't make. She's kind of like Captain Marvel in like Avengers Endgame. You think that her being in it's going to ruin the whole thing. She doesn't ruin it. She's not the reason why the movie's terrible. She's an element that has like bad moments, but she's not the reason that none of my main gripes with the movie has nothing to do with wokeness. It's just bad story, bad screenwriting, terrible villain. But and like I think I said previously, the whole the guy that gets Bond, the villain that gets Bond, like his whole plot point is borrowed from like It's basically Samuel L. Jackson's evil plan in Kingsman, which is a comedy Bond knockoff, and Thanos basically. It's just it's ridiculous. When I say no after hours, by the way, I meant like I'm not going 4 hours. I don't mean I'm not going to talk at all, especially if you get me going on certain topics. A lot of people out there know how to play me like a fucking violin. Yeah, her character's a dead end. Exactly. It's not good. And I see my friend thinks that she's gonna like they're gonna do something with her and do some other thing, but I don't think so. I don't. I mean, if they do spin her off, maybe they do some Amazon show because now Amazon owns Bond. By the way, Amazon owns half of Bond because they bought out MGM. So that's that's another thing. But she's not going to take over the series or anything like that. Yeah, it's just a. I'll tell you who was worse than her was that evil sign. If any, and I'm talking to people that have seen the movie. There was that the Russian scientist guy who was like. He was out of like a 60s cartoon. He was so annoying and so not funny, so poorly written and like one dimensional that was so annoying. I think that character was far, far worse than the quote unquote 007 in the movie. But yeah, so I don't know. Let's say it just sucks. It's like I've come to the point of just being a cranky old man who thinks that everything that I grew up liking sucks now, and every passion I had sucks. Like everything, like literally, if I take everything that I was passionate about even 20 years ago, they've all turned to shit. I mean, from Star Wars, like movies, Star Wars, Bond. They're already gonna mess up Indiana Jones. Although you still got the first three movies are still gonna be fine, and so on and so forth. I can go down a list of music. I've talked about Howard Stern ad nauseum on here, how that sucks. So all of my passion things stink, now. And Bond is definitely one of them. Do I watch the Bond 24/7 Classic channel on Pluto? Yes, absolutely. I find myself switching over to it when there's a commercial break on The Price is Right. And I'll catch like a Connery or a Moore for a little bit, and but I can't watch the whole thing because I hate watching things with commercials. Maybe they should do a Bond villain movie and leave Bond out. That would be an okay idea. Make a really interesting Bond villain. I don't know. They're just so terrible. I don't see Danko. I don't even like Mad Max Fury Road. I mean, I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it the way other people did. And maybe I need to see it again. I just didn't love it. Cops channel on Pluto's good. I watch a lot of Pluto TV and YouTube are pretty much the two things I watch. But yeah. No, it's not, and I'm not even a huge Road Warrior fan to begin with. Yeah, Blade Runner 2049 is great. Also, the same guy who directed Blade Runner, the sequel, is also the guy who directed Dune, and you could totally see that. Both are excellent, excellent films. Excellent films. Still haven't seen Fury Road. I'm against modern sequels at this point. Yeah, me too, for the most part. But every now and then you'll get surprised. Did I see Lighthouse? Lighthouse was the one with Willem Dafoe. I didn't love Lighthouse. I watched it, I think... When did I watch that? I think I watched it right at the beginning of, like, the pandemic, when, like, you couldn't go anywhere. I think... I remember thinking it was just too weird for the sake of being weird. And I liked the premise out of it, but it got a little too art housey for me. And I'm sorry not to be, like, play the dumb guy card, but it was just too it was too weird and like draw your own conclusions type shit. I'm like, I don't want to draw my own conclusions, Yeah, he did Arrival. I didn't like Arrival, by the way, but he did do Arrival. Did I see was it Cesario? Yes, great. I love Cesario. I like the one that came out before it. I forget the name of it. Really good. That's really good. Like I could come up with maybe a list of like the best movies of the past like 5 years or so. That would definitely be on there. But is there lots of farting in Lighthouse? Yeah, Lighthouse is no Roadhouse. I didn't like Arrival because it felt like yes, I just said I loved Cesario. Uh, Arrival felt like it was it was, not to get too conspiracy theorist, but a lot of these studios, like, they basically, like, just make these movies to please China, because every studio wants to get their movies in China, because China's this huge market, and China's very strict about what movies they'll allow. And there's a plot point in Arrival that basically makes China look like the heroes of the whole world, where there's, like, a scene at the end where, like, there's the, like, I don't know if he's the head of China or the head of the military or whatever, I forget, but it just seemed like, okay, so you're just giving a blowjob to China so they play your movie. That's basically, and they could have made it anybody. They could have made it anybody. They could have made it Russia. They could have made it some other, world power or something. But they made it China, and I felt it was a very deliberate choice, and that took me out of the movie. I also don't like what's her name. I forget her name. The one who plays Lois Lane in those bad Superman movies. I don't like her, and yeah, I was into it very early on, but yeah. And the more I think about it, the less memory I have of it, which is always a sign of a movie that didn't work for you. It's just, Amy Adams, is that who it is? Amy Adams? I don't like Amy Adams. I'm not an Amy Adams guy. But, like, yeah, there's so many movies that, like, just cater to China, and I felt like Arrival was the biggest one out of any of them. So Tracy says, I like Chinese people too, but it's the kowtowing that Hollywood does to China. Am I going to read Tarantino's novelization of Once Upon a Time Hollywood? Yes, I read it as soon as it came out, cover to cover, and listened to the audiobook. Fantastic. Can't recommend that enough. Tarantino's novelization of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, especially if you liked the movie. It's fantastic. He's actually doing a new book, like, called, like, a fake, obviously it's fake, but he's doing, like, the films of Rick Dalton, where he's writing it in the perspective as Quentin Tarantino, as if Rick Dalton was, like, a real actor, and basically going through his whole career. And I'm really looking forward to that. But that was the last actual book I read, and it's great. I can't recommend it enough. The only problem I had with it is it's paperback, and it was hard to read for me because I need, like, big print, because my eyes are, over the past year, my eyes have been going a little bit. Not going, but, like, I need, like, right now I'm wearing reading glasses. I have to wear reading glasses when I look at the computer now. That's been a new thing. But Liz, it's not a traditional novelization. It's not a novel. It's not a novelization as you know it. It's very hard to explain. It does not follow the same beats as the film. I'd say half of the book is stuff that's not even in the film. Last game I played, I've been playing a lot of Mario Party Superstars. I've been playing that a lot this week. That just came out last week. I'm also getting back into Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening, because I took a little break because I was sad that I'm at the end. I'm on the last level, so I'm going to finish that. Oh, that's right. John Cena was forced to apologize to China for calling Taiwan a country. How cringe-worthy was that? That's just so. That's what we're talking about here. It's like all, like, and I'm sure he was forced to do that. Have I played Metroid Dread yet? No. I'm afraid of it. Because it looks very hard and looks very involving, and very complicated. I'll probably play it eventually, but I don't have the time to deep into it. Metroid Dread is legit. Yeah, it looks cool and everything. I'm a little intimidated by it. Have I ever played Dark Souls? No, I've never played Dark Souls. Like, lately, like, since I moved, especially, like, I haven't even unpacked. I have a PlayStation 4. I haven't even unpacked it. I've only been playing Switch. um, and I like simple in and out games. Um, oh, you finished it, Bob? You already finished Metroid Dread? Okay. I just remember. You know what I'd like to play again? I'd like to play Super Metroid again because I have very little memory of that game. I'd like to play that again. Maybe even before, because like Metroid Dread isn't going anywhere. I'm not a guy that needs to get a game like the day it comes out. The only games I go crazy, like I get the absolute second it comes out, is like a mainline Mario game or like any kind of pretty much any kind of Mario game. Oh, you can send me PS4 games. You don't have to do that, Jesus. You're very generous as it is with games, but yes, send them to me. Um, Yeah, I'll add you on PSN. I'll post my PSN. I don't even know. I got to notice too. Maybe somebody PlayStation person can answer this question for me because I let my what do you call the service of shit? Is it PS not PS Now but PS Plus the one that the online service? So if your service lapse, do you lose all your stuff like any games you downloaded for free? Do I watch speedruns? Yes, I do. I do like thinking I'm gonna check it out. Like there's a couple of YouTube channels that focus on speedrunners, and there's one I watched a Mario 64 speedrunner, and I thought I was just gonna watch it a little bit, and I almost ended up watching the whole thing. It was insane. It was like 2 hours and 40 minutes, which is crazy. Yeah, I have Switch Online. I even got I got the expansion pack to get the 64 games. Just because I wanted to play Super Mario Kart 64 or Mario Kart 64 online. And rumor has it they're gonna get GoldenEye, which is gonna be insane to play that online. That's like that's like a dream. So I got those. Um, I'd like to play Ocarina of Time at some point, but I'm not any right. I just don't have the time right now to sit down and get into like some overwhelming, all-consuming game. Look at Jesus always. Yeah, I mean, if you have them to spare, I would take your PS Plus cards. But I don't have it hooked up right now. I don't have the PS4 hooked up, and I have no interest in getting a PS5. There's no need for me to get a PS5. Maybe someday in the future when they redo it. I hate the way it looks. I think it's really ugly. I did see a thing the other day that somebody actually hacked the PS5. Two separate people actually hacked it. So I wonder if anything interesting will come from that. Is there a game called Blasphemous? That'd be good to get Perry to play. He's so resistant to playing video games. I mentioned it to him the other day. I was like, "Gotta get you playing." I don't want to play. He always talks about asteroids. It's the same shit. I only played asteroids when I was a kid. I'm like, right, but it'd be fun to see you play. And like literally, I would just like to see Perry play. Um, uh, like fuck, jeez, like anything, like just simple games, and like just see if he would get pissed off at like I think I've said this before, like even playing Super Mario Brothers and like getting to like the first castle and finding out that your princess is in another castle. Like, fuck you, you bitch! I'm not. Fuck it, we're done. We're done. No, fuck this bitch. I went through all this shit. It's not even her. And you're like, can't, assuming he'd get that far. Because a guy who's only played Asteroids is going to be challenging to work up to. Because people are saying, like, oh, have him play, like, Call of Duty and stuff. Like, are you out of your mind? He's not going to be able to play that. We got to go to Pac-Man and Ms. Pac-Man to, really simple Simon stuff to get him in there. Mario 64, you're dreaming. He wouldn't get in the castle. He wouldn't get anywhere near the castle. He wouldn't enter the castle. He wouldn't get to the camera guy. Maybe some Mario Maker. Yeah, I thought it'd be a good idea to get Perry a Switch and have him like and then just play everything off that. Like then because then he gets the NES catalog on there, SNES or N64 or whatever. Maybe we could, because I think because a couple of people like, oh, I'll send them a Raspberry Pi that's hacked, and I think you can get, especially if you have any kind of high profile streaming, I think you can get in real trouble for streaming like pirated games. So I'd want him to be as legit as possible. You know, taking the barcade. I gotta say, I'm not a big barcade guy. I've been to barcade plenty of times, and I don't like. I like playing a couple of things, and then I'm kind of over it. Unless you ever find a barcade that's loaded with tons of games, it feels like barcades are just they have limited selections. Jesus hates Sony now, so I'm liquidating all my stuff. Wow. Okay. Cool. I mean, why do you hate Sony? I know a lot of people are angry at Sony, and I don't. I've never had an Xbox, but that's interesting because that's not the first time I've heard that somebody really is angry at Sony. Just have them play Asteroids. Yeah, we might start off with Asteroids. I'm gonna yeah. I'll see. I'll see. Jesus says need to liquid. You're that's right. You're moving right. Fuck. Yeah, Nintendo is really tough, but I mean, you can stream a Nintendo, right? Though, if you're playing it legit, I mean, I've seen there's tons of people that do it. There's tons of people that stream Nintendo, but I know they're really weird. Like Nintendo, and I wish Nintendo of America actually ran the business end of Nintendo because the Japanese Nintendo like headquarters they don't get it. Like they flag YouTubers for like reviewing a game too early. Like let's say you get an early copy of a game. Like there was one channel that I saw like a guy that I watched occasionally because he just like I don't know he pops up in my algorithm. He got hit by Nintendo because they were trying to say because he reviewed Metroid Dread. He reviewed it on the embargo. Like I guess they have an embargo, right? Like so you can't review it until such and such a date. And then but he reviewed it after the embargo, but he's not an official Nintendo guy, so he didn't get an early copy. He just was able to snag an early copy somehow, and they still gave him shit because they said like, oh, you're not one of us, or we're not one of our like Nintendo influencers or whatever they call it. I guess a lot of YouTubers are in the Nintendo program. There's a lot of like, you know, pandering channels on YouTube that just like worship at the temple of Nintendo, so you can tell that they get free stuff and things like that. But yeah, I don't get it. It's like this the guy still and by the way, the review was a rave review, and they still wanted to take the video down, and that's how much they don't get it. I mean, having said all that, me personally, I'm a Nintendo fanboy. I always have been, and Nintendo is always going to be my number one system. Have Perry play WarioWare. That's a great idea because those are very quick in and out games. I would like Perry to play WarioWare and Mario Party. Like I'd like to play Mario Party with him online. Once he gets the hang of it, it's going to take thing. Yeah, I'm with Jesus. I do not get gamers that hate Nintendo. It's like that's ridiculous. That's like liking rock music and hating the Beatles. It's like you wouldn't have what you have now if it wasn't for Nintendo. Chris, did you buy him a NES Classic? I forget, or is it like, oh a real NES? See, the problem with the real NES is you got to like figure out how to hook that up. Yeah, yeah. Not trying to change the subject. Browsed YouTube and found a documentary on the inventor of snowboarding, and it was 90 minutes. And some dude named Jake Burton. That's interesting. That's interesting that it wasn't Tom Sims. That's that. Okay, I'll have to write that down. Jake Burton. I wonder if Perry knows who that is. Huh. Yeah, listen, everybody listen to Jesus Christ right now. Video games post 1983 exist because of Nintendo and Nintendo only. The video game industry was over. It was over. The problems I have with Nintendo is all like that's how much I love Nintendo. I hate them on so many levels because they make things needlessly complicated, and I wish things were better. I wish their online system was better and everything like that. But I still have just a big soft spot. Um, for Nintendo. Has he said the name Jake Burton before? I don't know. That's the first time I heard of it. Just now. Atari, I'm completely skipping with Perry because I think Atari sucks. And I speak as somebody that kind of grew up with, not kind of, I did grow up with Atari. I had Atari 2600 before the Nintendo was even a twinkle in Japan's eye. And it doesn't hold up. I think I've said this before. There's a nostalgia factor with Atari maybe, but the second you play it, it's like it sucks, and it still sucks. It sucked then, and it sucks now. Like that's why an Atari Classic. They've released Atari Classic consoles where they have all these preloaded games, and it doesn't fly off any shelves because everybody knows they suck. Those games are torturous. They're not fun to play. They're not fun to play now. They weren't fun to play then. Even as a kid, I know they sucked, but it's all you had. There was a couple of games that were okay, but it was shit. It was shit. It was shit. They were fucking garbage. It's all nostalgia. Like Scott just said, it's awful. Nostalgia aside, it's just awful. You're never gonna play an Atari. I'm never playing an Atari game again in my life. I never had a ColecoVision, but I was jealous of kids that did. ColecoVision was like a marginal. All those Intellivision, ColecoVision, Atari, they're all in the same category of shit. It wasn't really until the NES where home video gaming became a thing. A real thing, a mainstream thing. But that's really where it started. I had other friends that I had always friends that had other systems like Commodore 64. I remember playing games on that, and that was like a big deal. You're still mad at the ET game? Yeah, everybody talks about the ET game. I remember I got it for Christmas the year, and I remember playing it, but it didn't like phase me. Like I knew it was a bad game, but it was just like they're all bad games. They're all bad games. So it was no difference to me. Like I remember playing Raiders of the Lost Ark on Atari 2600, and like that to me that was worse than ET. ET I could at least figure out, and then it was always uh, what was it? What was there was another notoriously bad game. Anyway, they're all bad. So don't ever go back to play Atari 2600 because nostalgia aside, it's junk, absolute junk. Just yeah. But yeah. So Nintendo. So worship at the temple of Nintendo, like every other normal human being that plays video games. I don't know if there. I remember playing Atari Empire Strikes Back as well, and it was just this endless loop of fighting. Like you're in the snow speeder shooting AT-ATs, like on a just a flat level. They're just terrible, terrible. I remember seeing other like I always kind of like other systems other than the NES because I remember like TurboGrafx 16 coming out and seeing the commercials for that, really wanting it, never got it. The Neo Geo I always wanted, never got that. Like that to me, the Neo Geo was like the holy grail because that felt like actually playing an arcade. That was the first system where it felt like okay, now you can play arcade games in your home. This is it. Now you're playing arcade games in your home because even like as good as Super Nintendo and Genesis were, like when you played like arcade ports, they still felt like ports, good ports, but ports nonetheless. And with Neo Geo, it was like, oh, now I'm playing. Now this is okay, now we're getting to somewhere different. And then that kind of stopped because video game systems for me when I was a kid was all about getting a really good home version of a game I played in the arcade. And then um, for, it seemed like systems got away from that. And like, cause once PlayStation came out and then later Nintendo 64, like you got away from that. But for me as a kid, it was always about getting the games that were big in the arcade at home, like Turtles in Time or something like that, or even like the WWF wrestling game, or like the Simpsons game at home or something like that. I'm just thinking of any kind of popular, like the T2 game, the T2 or game, and then getting the home port of that. Now I completely avoid ports of all kind. I don't care about them anymore. But at the time I did, and that was like the driving point to get a new system. But then PlayStation onward, that was kind of out the window. Even though they still had them, but it wasn't the same thing. And then really, I think since then, really, the home game market drove the industry rather than the other way around. Mortal Kombat for Genesis is very good. That was, geez, I can't tell you how many times, how many hours I spent that. What's Perry's GPU and his PC? It's not good. I gotta send him. I got a new one. He needs another upgrade. Let's just put it that way. He needs another upgrade on the on his computer, especially doing like any kind of streaming stuff. He needs more. He needs more of a thoroughbred. Yeah, and I think like Neo Geo, like the hardware still go for a lot of money, like just like on the market, like because I've never had one, and anybody I knew that had one, I was very jealous of. You barely have time to sit down for a game. I know. I don't have that much time either. That's why I like the in and out games. Oh, you have a modded one. I have an arcade one up. I have a Pac Man arcade one up that I kind of bought like last year, like during the pandemic. Like, and boy, I kind of wish I didn't, but I would like to find out how to mod it. I don't know how to do that, and it's not even hooked up now. It just kind of takes up space. But I would like to. I would like to try that. So you're putting your other sleeve in your smoking jack. No, no, no! Don't put your other sleeve in. I gotta get going. I just I want to. People got so mad at me, like not mad. That's the wrong word. But I got message. Like I get messages from people like the other night when we ended the stream. Like what? No after hours? Like no. Like well, that's it. You're just gonna end? And it was like it was the Popeye one, um, the Popeye stream, and Perry ended in the boat. Garrett was still there, and it was like like yeah, I got a lot of I had to deal with Garrett still there and everything like that, and that plus I was kind of wiped out, not wiped out, but and also I thought it was a really good ending. It was a really good ending, and I felt like any other like coming like hanging on, um, like hanging out like for a long time would have just been premature. Plus I needed to have dinner and stuff like that, but. I get it is flattering though. Like people send like messages like, "What? You know, Tracy missed it." Yeah, Garrett was there to help blow up the boat, and then he helped Perry in the pool. So, yeah, it was it was a good stream. Sorry, hang on a second. Um, but yeah, I was just kind of wiped out. I didn't really. I would like even tonight. Like I'm a little. I'm a little white, but at the same time, you can't go to sleep. I can't go to sleep right away. Was I ever into Best Show Schwarpling Worcester? No, I don't know. I have no idea what that is. It's one of those things like what Perry says. I have no idea what you're talking about. No idea at all. No, I don't know. I don't know what that is. I'm drunk as F, and Perry didn't miss me off once. Oh, really? He missed me off a couple of times. I'll admit. He'll miss me. He missed me off a couple of times. Oh, I need to rewatch the end. You passed out after the smoothie and woke up to Perry singing in the pool. You didn't miss much in between that. Honestly, there was not a lot of stuff. Tom congratulates on the promotion. I'll say this: Perry did that podcast yesterday called Pajama Pants with Robert Eiler from The Sopranos, who played Tony Jr. on Sopranos, Jamie Lee Singer, who played Meadow Soprano, and this other guy their co-host called Cassim, really good guy, and they're diehard fans of this channel, diehard fans of this channel, and it's one of those things that came about because they're huge fans, Robert and Cassim. Like they and not only that, they know, like they mainly watch a lot of clip channels and stuff like during the day, but they do like they knew After Hours. They're like, oh, because I was talking to Robert, he's like, oh yeah, there was this one time you were talking about this on After Hours, and that was kind of like, wow, you watch After Hours, that's cool. But anyways, so I'm getting caught in the weeds. Perry was on the thing, and then he was talking about me. I was on just for a little bit, and then he was like, Tom Brennan, my publicist, and I was like, don't call me that. I just feel like I just want a better title. I don't like boss. I don't like publicist. I don't even know if director is the right word, or like, God, I don't know. There's so many things, that he could say, but I was just kind of like rolling my eyes when I'm like, all right. Do they know deep Perry lore? They know only what's on PCL. They only know PCL. They know that I think they saw the movie based on because Cassim had seen the movie a long time ago, but they just recently kind of got into Perry Caravello. Not recently, like over the past 6 months or so. But huge. I mean, they had deep like there's like everyone's gonna love this podcast when it comes out because there's so many deep references, and they played it so well. They were actually really sweet with Perry, and and when we were talking about like business stuff, off the air, just kind of like how how difficult it is to be, on YouTube and stuff like that, and like I always mention the problems that we had on even like the hiccups that we had, like this hiccup tonight where I had to restart the stream. I don't know where that comes from, or even like people trolling us and like flagging our channel just to be jerks, and then the whole issue with the partnership thing, the problems, we've had, I've said this before. I was like, the main issue I have with Twitch is you can't get a hold of a real person. It just seems like all automated bots anytime. Like I've been so desperate for any kind of support from them, and anytime I write, and I just never, I either get an automated response or no response. So that's, we were just kind of talking about that stuff and issues that, things that they've had on their podcast and stuff. So the stream went down right when he raged. Yeah, well, you'll see on the archive, it'll be fine. Like there's, obviously it didn't crash on the archive. It was weird. I think, yeah, Twitch went down, like like Twitch didn't go down, but the stream went down for like, I don't know, like a couple of minutes, and then normally it just reboots automatically. This time it didn't, so I had to manually redo it. Very frightened you when he was pounding on the desk. That's funny. Yeah. That's funny. Perry Whit's partnership with Hulk Hogan. Yeah, I saw a lot of people trash talking Hogan, and I know there are not. There's a lot of people that are just not Hogan fans that are just don't like him for whatever reason. But man, I like the guy. I grew up a Hogan fan, so I always think that that's an interesting thing. There are not. There's a lot of people that. Do they ever have Adriana on that? Yeah, they do. If you go look them up on YouTube, they have like they have a lot of Sopranos people. They have celebrities on the show. Um, they had I hate calling them by their character names, but I forget her real name. Adriana was on their podcast. Michael Imperioli, Christopher was on the podcast. I'm sure I didn't go that deep into it, but it's. Uh, no, I was just saying that, Mom. But I'm never gonna really ban. By the way, I hope nobody took that seriously. I said on the stream that I was gonna ban anybody that badmouth Hulk Hogan. Um, yeah, I was not gonna do that. Listen to Hogan talking to his son in jail after he turned his friend into a vegetable. Not a good guy. Well, look, I'm not going to judge somebody for talking to their son, whatever. There's a lot of things I've heard about Hogan I don't like personally. By the way, I'm not talking about Hogan, the real guy, Terry Bollea. I'm talking about the character Hulk Hogan. The character, the character in wrestling, the guy in the '80s in the WWF, the guy who body slammed, um, not body slam, the guy who slammed Andre the Giant at WrestleMania 3. Okay, that Hulk Hogan, the guy who had an amazing match against The Rock in 2002. That Hulk Hogan. Okay, I don't care about off the air Hulk Hogan. That's like separating the artist from the art, right? Like in anything, you got to separate. You got to separate things. So no, so I don't care about that stuff. Drea Di Matteo, thank you, Joey. But yeah, that's yeah. And I'm sure there's a lot of wrestlers that are bad people or whatever. But I don't. I mean, I don't care. I mean, it's like there's some actors that I like that I know are bad people in real life, like terrible people. Like you hear stories like I've always like people have told me stories like personal stories like I was working with so and so and they did this and that. I'm like, okay, but is that going to take my enjoyment away from watching like a movie that I like? Probably not, unless they're really, really, really bad. Faster Blade separates TomB from Tom Brennan. That's good. You probably should, because in real life I'm a terrible person. But yeah, it's one of those things. It's you got if you get really caught up in that stuff, then sure. Yeah, I don't. Because I see like there's especially lately I've been watching like some YouTube like wrestling things, and Hogan comes up, and then when you get the good you get the bad, and there's like channels like here's the top things that you know Hogan did bad, or the top 10 times that Hogan lied. um and I don't I'll watch a couple out of curiosity, but it doesn't change my opinion. Why don't I install installation in the room and do the drywall and finish later? It's cheap real quick and I won't freeze. I know I should probably do that, right? I've never done that before. I've never done installing insulation. I don't know if you could hear it in my voice, but I'm like legit freezing. Like I can see my breath in this room because I can't afford it. And not that I can't. I mean, look, I just got to budget things right. Like I have to finish this room. I have to, and I'm just like, there's a lot of other things going on, right now that is delaying that process. But you're right. It's ridiculous because as we get deeper into, well, now we're almost crossing over into winter season now here in the East Coast because it's cold. It's like I don't know how cold it is right now. Um, I'm trying to find out. Hang on. Why isn't this 43? It's 43 right now. Would I accept a gift of a webcam for Christmas? You don't have to buy me a webcam. I can get a webcam. Um, but that's really nice of you. Yeah, I got to look into webcam. I know I got to get a webcam for this. I really want to set up a proper office. I keep saying that. By now, I thought I would have had that set up, and I don't. It's 53 in Georgia. I need to. I'd like to live in Georgia, not here. Why do I see myself in John diapers insulating my room? I know you're in for a surprise because this room is weird. And actually, when I took the roof, not the roof off, but like demoed a lot of the roof part. It's a long story. This is like it was a weird room, and there's stuff, there's like tons of space like up in the ceiling that shouldn't be there. So it was good that I did this anyway because it needs to be properly insulated. Would a space heater help? Yeah, it might come to that. It might come to that because in the summer, I tried to get a fan in here because I was dying of the heat in here, but it was just too loud to be on microphone, so I couldn't use it. So I just kind of, I just dealt with sweating or being hot. So yeah, insulation's easy. Yeah, I know. I'm gonna do. I have a contractor, but it's just damn. It's just he's not returning my calls. I had a guy come over because I do want to do some media room stuff and I wanted to wire some stuff. So I got a guy from Best Buy to come over and do a consultation of what exactly I need to do because I wanted to wire some things like even like Ethernet cables and stuff like that, basic stuff before it gets sealed. Because once it gets sealed, then that's it. So while it was exposed, I wanted to do it. But I'm a procrastinator by nature with a lot of things, and I prioritize things that I shouldn't. You know what I mean? Like just like in personal stuff, not necessarily in business, but definitely in personal life stuff. I prioritize the wrong things often, and this is one of those things. One of my flaws. One of my many, many, many human flaws. But I'm gonna try to. Am I a pro union kind of guy? Yeah, sure. I'm not pro union or anti union at all. I'm not. But getting back to the whole, because I'm gonna wrap. But getting back to the whole pajama pants thing, you guys are gonna love this episode. So check out their channel. And by the way, I told them that we're gonna send a lot of PCL love over to their channel. So subscribe to their channel on YouTube. When they post the episode, try. I mean, look, you can be like, please be funny because they're gonna get all the inside jokes, but try not to be too I'll say graphic or really hard hitting in their comments, but just give them a lot of love because they were over the moon about it, and they um, like they said Perry's their favorite guest ever, so they're gonna have him back for sure. Like by the way, Doc, like they knew things that like Dr. Gunk got a shout out on the stream. Garrett got a shout out on the stream. Perry mentioned Garrett on the stream. Who like Moe and Drip got a shout out. Who else? There's a lot of like little small little details um, that were on the thing, and it was just great. So you guys are gonna love it. Yeah, Joey just posted the link to the channel in the description. And the show, if I haven't said it 1,000 times, it's going to come out on Tuesday. There's another podcast that wants Perry that I'm looking into. So maybe, but this one was a big deal because they get a lot of views. So and they just basically said they love the channel so much that they want to send a new audience over. Have I listened to Artie and Gilbert's last podcast? No, I started listening to it and like they hadn't gotten to Gilbert yet, and I stopped. But I'll go back. I do want to listen to it. I like the combination of Gilbert and Artie, even though Artie doesn't sound the same at all. He sounds very different. But yeah, I like Gilbert and Artie together. So I'm definitely going to listen to that. Who was the lucky viewer to get a shout out at the beginning of the stream? What do you mean? Who was the lucky viewer who got a shout out at the? Oh, you mean the person that the person that screenshotted Perry admitting to the boat scam? If they're comfortable with sharing that, they can share that. I don't want to dox anybody. They're very upset about it. It was yeah, it was I got some good stuff out of it though. Like I when I called him on the phone about it, he was very cagey. He was very like not admitting it. And then I actually, I legit contacted Dr. Gunk because Dr. Gunk did pay $500 for that boat to be inflated. And I said, hey, what do you want to do about this? And I presented the case and said, yeah, I know already got his nose repaired, but he sounds like he's like 70 something. Anyway, it was like I went to Dr. Gunk and we both agreed that a additional 1 week penalty would be the way to go for this. And then I promised I would spot check which is extra work for me. But now I got to go in with the camera and just like check yes, it's there. Yes, it's there. Yes, it's there. Because, someone's paying for that. You got to live up to your end of the bargain. And I don't know. And Perry's not always the greatest with that. You thought a week was lenient on Gunk's part? Yeah. Well, that's the first offense. If there's another offense in the next, 30 days plus, well, 37 days now, then we're gonna have a problem. Then the penalty gets stiffer. I'm with Liz, by the way, on Artie. Artie's stand up does suck. Artie is not a good stand up, but he's a good storyteller when he's not high on heroin and he's not repeating the same things over and over again. You got to get conversational Artie. Artie on Gilbert's podcast, I think Gilbert did his podcast, and I think it was the same episode. But anyway, if you go listen to Gilbert's amazing colossal podcast, the first Artie appearance, it's hysterical because they have a good chemistry together, going back to when Gilbert would go on Stern. But his stand up stinks. I agree with you. I don't think he's a great stand up, and I'm not saying that I am or anything like that. It's just not good. What podcast is Perry on? It's called Pajama Pants, from with Robert Eiler, Jamie Lee Singler from the Sopranos, and their co-host Kasem, and his last name escapes me at the moment. Yeah, and somebody played the veto clip tonight, but I think Perry was just confused by it. They didn't really get into any Sopranos talk last night, but Perry did get on to say, like, one of the first things after he stopped crying because he was so honored to be there, he was like, and let me just say, I was very sorry to hear about your father, Papa Soprano, passing away. Please kindly accept my warm, whatever he said. I'm paraphrasing. That's not word for word, but that was the gist of it. And they kind of smirked and went on. But they were very good. And like I said, Jamie Lee Singler didn't know who Perry was at all. I think she knew who he was based on their, them prepping her, but she was not quite ready for the avalanche that was Perry. And he had a legitimate freak out too on the stream too. It wasn't subdued Perry. I've said it multiple times, but my favorite Gilbert appearances was on Norm's old podcast. Yeah, he was very good on that. Those are some of my favorite Gilbert too. I wouldn't say my all-time favorite. All-time favorite Gilbert's still going to be on old school Stern, like '90s Stern appearances, but that's very good too. I've said there's some legit famous people that watch the streams. Was it those two or there was? No, there's not. Not I didn't know about them until recently, when Robert reached out. No, most again, most famous people that watch this stream keep it to themselves, like a speakeasy. They don't retweet anything. They don't talk about it or whatever. They talk about it amongst themselves. I've heard that. I've heard that that's a thing. Like there's a couple of different sects that like text amongst themselves. Like, oh my God, Perry did this, or Perry turned around the microwave, or blah 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 blah. Which okay, that's great. It doesn't put any chains in our cup, but yeah, these guys were legit. And there's others that I've heard of that I haven't confirmed. Like people tell me, or something like that. And then there's others that I've looked up. Like somebody will say to me, "Hey, this person watches," and I'll go through the motion of like actually looking up their, like they'll send in a comment, and then I can look up their like their email, or whatever. I'm like, "Ooh, that's the real deal. Like that's real." You know what I mean? Did I ever get into Mancow? No, absolutely not. I was, I mean, I don't think Mancow was popular outside of Chicago, outside of his home area. And I was just so entrenched in Stern. Like Stern was very anti-Mancow, and I was so like, man, if you were a Stern fan in like the '90s and even early 2000s, like what he said went, and if Stern told you that to drink Snapple, you drank Snapple. If Stern told you to hate this product, you hated it. And any competitor of hers that he really went after, they were like, they were the enemy. So no, Mancow was never on my radar at all. But isn't he like a political guy anyway? Like, I'm not into political radio shows. Maybe that came later. You got a feeling Spielberg, I don't think was real. Oh, political and conspiracy driven. No, we don't want that. Stern is a cat hoarder. Stern's a lot of things now. I think most people, like, it's very rare to find a Stern fan that's like still listening and enjoying it at this point. I think most people that I know have jumped ship. And it's funny, like there's this one friend of mine, I saw him recently, went to a concert together, and and we became friends really because of Stern, because we talk about it. And I said, "Hey, you still listening?" And he says, "Yeah, kind of out of habit every now and again. I know it's not the same, but it's just, it's a familiar voice. It's what I'm used to. I still listen to it." I'm like, "Really? Like, how do you listen to that now?" And he's like, "Yeah, I know. Like, I know it's bad. I just, when I'm driving to work, it's what I've always done." So there are people that are still kind of stuck in that thing. But that's fine. Like I've always said, I say that as if you all know what I've always said, but I have always said this. You always have to reevaluate your passions and things that you loved, like even a few years ago or many years ago, like Atari, for example. You got to reevaluate. It's like, is this still worthy of taking up real estate in my brain or in my heart? Where the heart is where your passions stem from. So, think about who made you laugh even 5, 10 years ago, a comedian or a podcast you listen to. Think about music that you listen to, and it's like, hey, you got to reevaluate. Am I holding on to this for nostalgia, or is this actually now cringe? Is this actually now like not not good? And you have to take stock. A lot of people don't, but I do. I try to reevaluate. Like, and even people, even friends, and you got to reevaluate things all the time. Things that made me laugh 10 years ago don't make me laugh now necessarily, and yeah. How does Stern not get attacked by the woke crowd for the blackface gets used to? Yeah, I mean honestly, you could really go hardcore on him, but yeah, he is Teflon because he kissed the ring. He bowed down. He kissed the right rings, and he Stern was always a guy that was on the outside looking in and resented all the people on the inside, and listeners to the Stern Show would revel in that, thinking that he didn't want to be on the other side. He was just mocking the people on the other side of the glass. Little did we know the reason why he was so angry at them is because he desperately wanted to be on that other side of the glass. He wanted to be welcomed in. He wanted to be sitting at their tables. And he got there. Give him credit. He finally got there. But it was a bit, I feel like the wool was pulled over. It was like, wow, the guy that and I can still listen to old stuff and laugh. But the a lot of his anger and rage, like even when he'd send like Stuttering John out to like make embarrass celebrities, it wasn't because he hated him. He hated the fact that they didn't welcome him in. He hated Johnny Carson. Like and I always found that weird. Like he'd go really heavy after Johnny Carson. I'm like, man, why does he hate Johnny Carson so much? Like he called Carson a wife beater and all this nonsense. And it took me a long time to figure it out. Like, oh, he hates Johnny Carson because he thought in his head that he should be on Carson, and that Carson should have welcomed him and brought him onto the couch and everything like that. Meanwhile, Carson probably didn't know who the hell he was, for most of his career because he was very regional. He didn't go out to Stern didn't go to L.A. until '91. So that's what it all is. It's a whole. It'll be in my upcoming book, my whole dissertation on Stern. I have a friend that I'm doing a podcast with. I used to do. We're doing a podcast, and we both say that hey, we got to talk a lot about Stern and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, we'll get into that, because once I get wound up on that subject, I don't shut up. But yeah, it's just. And again, the turning point for Stern for me was that big birthday bash he had, like I don't know how many years ago it was. I don't know. I guess his 60th or whatever birthday bash, the one that was hosted by Jimmy Kimmel and had all the celebrities, and it really just celebrated the turn of the Stern Show as to what it is now, and turned its back on everything that made the show great up to that point, where it was just a celebrity. Speaking of Bryan Cranston, who was on our stream tonight, Cranston was on that show, and I had no business being there, to be honest with you. It was just like, it was all about Robert Downey Jr., Bryan Cranston. I had Letterman on, which was worthy because Stern had a history with Letterman. But somebody like Gilbert Gottfried, he was sitting in the balcony with the whack pack, wasn't even on the stage. And that's when I knew. I was like, okay, this is over. This is over for me. And God, I always feel like I talk about Stern way too much on this After Hours. But that was when I realized that, there was a couple of marks where I realized this show was over for me. That was one of them. Although it was over before that, really, but I still listened out of habit. And then, of course, Eric, it's Flasterblade just said it, Eric, the actor, dying, who really held the last flame of old school Stern, Eric. And once he passed, that flame went out. And it was just it's over. And I always, like, in my head as a Stern fan growing up, I always thought this is going to be devastating when he retires. It's going to be a very tearful goodbye, and how am I going to live my life? How am I going to go on with no Stern Show? Because I grew up on it. I listened to it every day. There were periods where I listened to every syllable of every show. I couldn't be without it, and I just couldn't fathom ever being without it. And I always just had in my mind, like, because he always teases this thing, like, when he was up for a contract renewal. Like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to renew or not, and I would legit get scared. Um, I'd be nervous and like, oh my god, is this the moment? Is this the moment? I can't handle this. What am I going to do? What am I going to listen to? What am I going to do? And then of course he'd renew. Like, oh, thank God, we got 5 more years, 5 more years. Okay, I won't have to worry until another 5 years. And then that would go on. I mean, that's been going on since like the early '90s, like where he threatened it. It's a game that he did, and then it finally got to the point where it was like, please don't renew. Please don't renew. Please save any shred of your legacy left and leave now. And then I left. I stopped listening. I think it's in April or May of 2015 is when I hardcore stopped listening and never went back. And I just never in a million years would think that I would be the one to retire Stern, not the other way around. I just never would have thought that. And it's still strange to even think about. But yeah, it's just weird that the guy's just completely changed, and I guess he's got enough people that still buy into him. Like, and you think about this: there's people that have just started listening to Stern like in the past couple of years who are now big fans because they never knew. They never knew. Did I see the Red Bar update? Yeah, but when's it coming back already? I'm happy that they're at least. And Red Bar is the thing that I fell into to kind of fill that Stern void, because I was as diehard Stern as you get. I was literally. I would sneak it into my class, like in school. Like I had a very elaborate earpiece, like almost like Secret Service, that would go down the end of my ear and into my like shirt, that I would be still listening to the show, like during the class. And then I bought a cassette Walkman that would record. You know what I mean? Like I was that addicted to it. But yeah, so Red Bar filled that gap nicely. And occasionally, like I listen to like old Red Bars, like over the summer, and even now I'll listen to like some shows that I missed or whatever, like from maybe 4 or 5 years ago. But they just need to come back already. Liz likes Richard Christy and hated Sal. I hate both of them. I can't stand either one of them. I hated all of Stern's new guys, like from like the early 2000s on. Anybody that came in like post, I'd say Casey, Benji. Anybody after that, I don't like. And all this shit seems very staged and fake to me. Like even their like most popular phone calls, like the my turban is dirty. I really feel like that call is staged, and it's just a little too. It's a little too perfect for me. I just don't, I'm not gonna lie. There's some stuff that they did that made me laugh, but not like. I liked when Stern had a very limited staff. When it was literally just Gary, was the only guy, like back office guy, with maybe whoever the intern was, and that's it. And now it's just like this whole encompassing thing, and then you get into the Marcy Turk era. It's a whole thing. I did see a thing. I don't know if I know I talked about Elegant Elliot often. He was on this YouTube interview, and he definitely looks a little older, but he was basically saying that and I don't know if it's like a con job or whatever, but he was basically saying that he was just not that guy anymore, and he was more into like helping people get healthy and like things like that. So I don't know, and I enjoyed watching it, but boy, yeah, it's like he aged. Everybody ages. I always hate when people talk about how people age. Of course, people age. Like, oh, look how old so and so looks now. But he was still wearing like the lingerie, like the running outfit, and he was being. It's a show on YouTube called Here's the Pitch, and this guy, he's like a sports guy, but he basically has spent the past like couple of years interviewing like old Stern guests, and he has him on for a bit. But then Shuley had. I think the longer clip was Shuley had Elegant Elliot often on, and they talked back and forth on Shuley's podcast. So somebody sent me a thing that Shuley wanted Perry on his podcast, and I don't know how, because I didn't hear that directly. Somebody had said that. I still can't believe TomB had a relationship with Mark Harris. I did. I had a very sweet relationship with Mark Harris. We had a little moment in time together, and it was pretty great. And I actually I was very sad to find it when he passed away. Mm. Yeah, Shuley seems like a good guy. I don't know how popular his podcast is because I know a lot of guys they leave Stern and then they don't, they maybe think that there's going to be a huge thing and then, it's kind of a rude awakening. But yeah, I wanted. I think I mentioned this to Fasterblade like months ago, and I just haven't gotten around to doing it. But I wanted to do an Elliot Offen soundboard of like Elliot, gangster Elliot, like right, gangster talk, hey, because there's a lot of points. Like there's this period on the show when they first moved to Sirius where he would call in a lot for like football picks, but he has a lot of ranting, and I wanted to clip all that and like on a subscriber Sunday have Perry call soundboard Elliot Offen and just see how he would play off that. But yeah, Mark Hamill too. Another tragic tale of friendship lost is me and Mark Hamill. Yeah, I gotta go through a lot of those clips. I just haven't had the time. I haven't had the time to do that. That's more like a luxury thing to do. Like when like my deck is cleared, and I will because I would be very obsessive about it. I'd want to get all the right clips. Daniel Carver would be a little hard to pull off. I'm not going to do Daniel Carver. That's he's a wild. When by the way, that's a good question. When's the last time Daniel Carver was on Stern? It has to be well over a decade. Oh, Liz, you saw Elliot. Yeah, I've seen Elliot jogging quite a bit. He usually hits. I saw him. I don't think I've ever seen him on the east side. I've seen him on the west side. I've seen him like on the west side, like right before Central Park. I think he moved though. Um, I don't know, but I've seen him in the wild twice, like running around, and I was like, oh my god, that's Elliot often. And then by the time I would like work any kind of thing in me to like say something to him, he's gone. Did I listen to Kevin Brennan? Do I like Kevin Brennan's podcast? Not really. Not really. No. I think he's kind of a fool too. I do agree he's better than his brother, but oh yeah, no. But I did have I mean, I mentioned it. It's on an older After Hours, and I don't know which one, but I did talk about spending New Year's Eve with both Mark Hamill and Daniel Carver, and we had lunch together, the three of us, and it's I think I went into that in pretty good detail. Okay, Howard TV version of Celebrity Cribs when they did Daniel Carver's house. That's probably the last one. Yeah, because I remember them having like late on, like even in Sirius, they had like his wife on, and it was crazy. Like Daniel Carver's wife was way worse. It had to be, I'll tell you what, it had to be 2005 or 2006 because they talked about Hurricane Katrina and how they felt about like people losing their homes and stuff. Without getting into any detail, but his wife was vicious to the point where Daniel was like, "Yeah, yeah, hey, look, everybody's a human being, and I'd save these people." And like the wife would come back, "I wouldn't. I'd let him drown." And like Howard was like, "Whoa, you are, you're far worse than your husband." It was just, yeah, it was crazy. Yeah, and if you don't know who Daniel Carver is, Daniel Carver was like literally a KKK guy. And they had him on the Stern Show as the KKK guy because in the early 90s, Stern found this phone number where you'd call up and and there'd be an answering machine message, obviously well before the internet and stuff. And you'd call and you'd leave an answering machine message and he would literally just leave a message like "Wake up, white people! Save our land! All these people coming in and doing," and he'd go on this whole tirade, and they'd play the messages like for I feel like it was almost the course of a year. It was the early '90s. God, it might have been late. It was the early '90s. My timeline might be slightly off. And then they found the guy. Like they actually, it was a big deal because they were playing these answering machine messages that he would leave, and then they got him on the phone, and it was like, oh my god, like it was this mystical guy that you would hear on these answering machine messages, and now he was on the phone. I think that was one of the points where I had to go to school. Like I was listening on a school bus, and then I got to school, and I was like, I cannot go into school. The guy's on the phone now. The guy's on the phone. I'm missing school. Sorry, I'm not. I'm gonna miss homeroom. I cannot go inside. I'm listening to this. I am listening to this whole thing, and then he went on Howard's Channel 9 show, which was early '90s, and they did a thing called the Hollywood Squares, and he was the center square, and it was just complete chaos. It was crazy. That was like right around that time too, and it was so exciting to see him like on TV, see him in person. It was like, you know, oh, it was crazy. And then I felt like he became like more like a reoccurring like he essentially became a member of the Whack Pack in later years, like in like the late '90s. Like they did segments like Daniel Carver's movie reviews, and he and of course they would make it movie reviews that were very like, you know, like like Boys in the Hood or something like that, and like just to get some nudges out of them. And then yeah, so anyway, I had the pleasure of meeting him because I went to Howard Stern's New Year's Rotten Eve thing because I knew one of the girls. Um, God, I think I forget how old I was. I was still a teenager, but I knew my friend knew a girl that was in the pageant, and she got me in, and I got to like party with everybody and like go backstage and like. So anyway, Mark Hamill was on the show, and I got to have lunch with Mark Hamill and Daniel Carver, which is a story I've told, but uh, but yeah. So anyway, so then he got kind of watered down, but he was such a crazy character. What a crazy character he was. But I feel like the edge kind of got taken off as um, as the years went on, and but yet I can't imagine that there's a place for him now. On like, I mean, not even now, like the show even 10 years ago, like, God, because he's so because I think Stern used to find that stuff funny, and now he probably not probably now he finds it cringe, and not only that was would bury it. Like I don't even listen to Stern's like other channel where they play older shows, but there's no way they have Daniel Carver stuff on the older shows because I'm sure he wants to erase that from history, or that he ever talked about him or ever had him on or anything like that. So I love Perry's little threads. Oh, is Daniel Carver's son in prison? I didn't know that. Or maybe I did and forgot about it. Perry sends me this text message. I didn't see it because I wasn't looking at my phone. He says, "If this bullshit with Satan on my stream keeps up, I will go back to being a Jehovah Witness." Which is his little threat. He said that to me. There was a lot of the. I will say the 666 Satan stuff got a little much tonight because there was a lot of it. But yeah, that's his little threat. I don't think he means that. They wouldn't take him back anyway, to be quite honest. But I like his little. That's a Perry text threat right there. I think that was sent a while ago. I just haven't checked my phone. Yeah, it was like 45 minutes ago. Did I have any idea that Perry's mom gave him an enema? No, I'd never heard that before, and that's one of my favorite things ever. Is Perry Revelations, Perry Revelations, where we hear something that is so crazy and you can't believe that you haven't heard it before. It hasn't come out before because Perry's done a lot of talking over the years. And how has that story not come out? So yeah, it was like the poop story. I remember hearing the poop story for the first time. He was talking to me. I got actually I gotta find I have it because it was just him and I on the phone. Him talking about the poop story for the first time. That was another one. And there's been a couple that have come out in the past year on just PCL where. What are some other ones, like some recent there was the thing with the cats and everything, but I think I had heard that before. But there's a couple of there's got to be more too. So I like uncovering a new Perry thing. And when he told it on Sunday, I kind of heard it in the back of my ear. I was like, what is that? And then Joey sent me a message like, what's this coffee enema? Like question mark. And like, yeah, well, a couple other comments had played, and then I was like, I got to go back to that. Like, hang on a second. there's more to be investigated here. And then I asked him, and then yeah. It's such a crazy story. You want to hear the 92 story? Let me ask you everybody's opinion. And we could do this with the ones and twos. And I feel like I'm going to know the answer to this, but are there people that are just I know there's people that are completely over the 92 thing. I am one of them. However, I go with the flow. The Perry Caravello Live always sets its sail to the trending whims of the audience, you guys. And how many people love 92, can't get enough of it? Those people press 1. Or if you are completely sick to death of 92 talk, press 2. I'm going to press 2 myself. But I just want to get a general sense because it just seems like most people are just into it and can't get enough. You need to hear an 82 story. Yeah, if there's an 82 story, we'll get into that. Oh, some twos. Scott says 2. Some ones. All right, maybe we're in the majority. Well, you know how to turn that around. See, okay, now there's some ones. I just feel like you need a break from it and then come back to it or do it in some creative way. I'm just like, boy, I'm just sick of it. And I know it's not the story, it's his reaction, but even that, and that's one of the beauties of Perry is you're never going to get quite the same reaction every time. Jill is a 1 and a 2. You can't do that. That's cheating. You think the pizza delivery the story dump is funnier? Yeah, I kind of do too. I don't know. I just feel like it's been milked a lot, but Yeah, Jesus said he's tired of 92 and just calling him back. Yeah, I'm really, I mean, I'm not into there's tip comments that just like flat out like call him gay. Or I'm not into that either. But whatever. If somebody, again, you set your sail to the whims of the audience. I think that's what makes this channel special. So I always go along with most things. But yeah, me personally, if I had my druthers, I would put a cap on it. At least for a while, and then have it come back maybe next year or something like that, and then you hear it again, and you'll hear like a new nugget, and then it'll be fun. But man, Perry calling McDonald's and explaining 92 over the phone, yeah, that was good. And no doubt, there's been some funny moments over the past year that have involved the 92 story. I completely agree with you. I'm just and again, obviously, I'm coming from a different position than you guys. The defeated slouch when After Hours money was mentioned was still my favorite reaction. Yeah, does he still do that? Because I feel like that's ran its course. The After Hours thing. Was there anything like that tonight? I don't remember. I don't think so. Kitty says, when you got here 3 months ago and you saw the 92 reference in chat, then heard the story a few times, it's great. But it seems like it's time to move on for a while. Yeah, I feel like look, nothing's ever permanent. No door is ever permanently closed in this PCL universe, but I think there's other things to grasp onto, but that's just me. I agree it's overdone, but literally everything is overdone. Curated content is best, but hard to do with open source comments. That's very true. And a lot of things can get overdone, but the beauty about Perry is, because nobody would watch if it was the same thing every stream, he has a different, look at, even, there's that comment I played, the Kevin Spacey comment I played it about 3 times tonight. And I replayed it once because I missed playing the media share element, which then I did. And then I replayed it again because he responded to it very differently all 3 times. And I don't think you're going to get that with too many other people. Like, he's going to give you a different take on something, like even, from stream to stream or hour to hour even. And I think that's what keeps the repetitive stuff from being absolutely torturous and mundane, because because of his element. But for me, the 92 thing doesn't get grandfathered into that necessarily. There's other things that, and I think things come and go, things come and go and then they come back even. So, and there's some things I can't get enough of, and there's other things I'm like, okay, let's move on from this. But it's not my place. Again, like the show he did last night, the podcast. That's a podcast. There's a lot of people don't understand the difference between a live stream, a live quote IRL stream, and a podcast. Very different things. Especially when you do this 3 days a week. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with this, but it's just the trending thing of PCL in general that will pick. Then you pick up on something, it'll get a lot of heat, and then some people will exhaust it. Like, even like seeing the zebra tonight was kind of nice again, because it had been a while since there was any kind of hallway thing, which I think is good, because you don't want that. Like the hallway stuff, you don't want that rapid fire every week, because you're going to burn out on that. He's going to burn out on it. But it's kind of cool to see it, even though it took him a year and a day to get out the door, because he had to get his, quote, slips on. But, things like that. His reaction when I said he needs to move his credenza to set the boat on top of it was classic. Is that when he really went crazy? Because I'm going to clip that. I'm starting to now write clip moments in my notes, and I'm gonna clip that and post that. Yeah, that was good. And speaking of clips, Perry that actually got very mad because he was on the Perry Caravello. He was looking up Perry Caravello stuff on YouTube, and he's like, "Who are all these people posting my material?" And I was like, "I know." I said, "It's mostly it's good. Mostly it's just good promotion, but some of them are a little much, and we do gotta set some guidelines for that, which I've been meaning to do for a while." Not to be a jerk, but and like some of them were just simple guidelines that I think most content creators have for channels that clip their content. Like, hey, let's have some kind of thing, like how about clips have to be this length, they can't be like an hour long, because you're giving away the whole thing, stuff like that. But he was worked up about some of these clips he was watching. This motherfucker is posting me doing this, and I was like, okay, we'll take care of it, don't worry. He really flipped his shit when I did the Japanese Ronald clip at the end of the stream a week or so ago. After tonight, I have to wonder if it was the metal music that pissed him off more than it was the McDonald's. Tonight was just a little too much metal. It was just like there's times like that. I think tonight was just too many people had the same idea. Like last week even, with I think it was McDonald. I think it was like the crazy Ronald McDonald guy. Like different two different people chose the same clip and it played twice at two different points and he reacted both, but it was like, oh, okay, it's two people with the same idea. So I think it was just a little heavy on the music that got him worked up. That was that was tonight though. The thing previous to tonight, I don't think it was much of an issue, but it was a lot. It was very heavy with 666 stuff and music. God. When, by the way, does anybody, when I say, and again, it's a big it's like a thing, like, the stream ends, and I play the Life at the Outpost song, and I know people were, like, waiting for some kind of after hours-y thing on Sunday, and it didn't happen, so I came back to just, I talked to Perry real quick, went to the restroom, came back, and I was like gonna say, okay, hey, thanks guys. I just wanted to not leave you hanging. Just want to say goodnight. Good job, everybody. I can't do after hours tonight. And I know it's almost this like unfunny, cringy trope that like, yeah, and then 2 hours later, this asshole is still on here rambling, And I just realized that I was like, didn't I say I wasn't gonna do, and then here I am, like doing it. Like, when did the stream actually end? Like, when did Perry go off? Like, I feel like it was like well over an hour ago. You don't remember at P break? Well, I remember. It was when as soon as the stream ended and I played the music. That's when I peed. In fact, when the stream went down earlier, I wanted to go then, and then I was like, Perry, do you have to go to the bathroom? We could do it now, like while the stream was down for like the 5 minutes it was down. He's like, no, I'm fine. I'm like, great. The one time I actually need him to go, he doesn't go. So it's like, great. Is it like an hour? Is it an hour and a half? Because that just makes me feel like such an idiot. And maybe I am an idiot. At least I'm a self-aware idiot. Jeez Louise. Yeah, I didn't mark down like when he went off. Maybe around. I'm looking at the master clock on the stream, which would be different for you guys because there was a restart. But we're at 7 hours and 5 minutes now, so maybe he went off around. Oh God, I don't know. Either way, it's over an hour. I listened after I was waiting for Tom to change his mind about aliens being better than Alien. No, see, that's a tricky wordplay. Being better than is different than I prefer or my favorite. Like, I can say my favorite movie of the series is Aliens, but I could say maybe that Alien is the better movie. Maybe. I don't even know if that's true. I think Aliens is the better movie, to be honest with you. But it's one of those things where I won't argue with somebody that prefers Alien. I don't think that they're crazy. There's certain movies like that. Like, okay, this movie in this series is better than all others, and anybody that says anything else is just flat out wrong. But in cases like somebody like look, I prefer The Empire Strikes Back to Star Wars, but if somebody says they prefer Star Wars, can't argue with that because they're both great. Now, if you tell me you prefer Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade over Raiders, that's going to be a conversation. Mama says, well, we had to talk about movies, wrestling, and Stern, obviously. That's basically all we do, isn't it? Isn't it? Like, and I feel like sometimes I just say the same things over and over again. But then again, I know there's different people listening at different times that didn't necessarily hear. Alien. Yeah, I'm Team Aliens, but I don't argue too harshly about Team Alien. Aliens is a more entertaining movie. Aliens is more fun. Aliens has more to it. The thing about Alien is it just feels like a slasher movie. Now, it sounds like I'm like taking apart the movie. I'm not. It seems like a slasher movie in a spaceship where instead of teenagers, you just got this working class crew. And instead of Jason, you have Alien, and you don't see it, but it's got great things. But I feel like I love a sequel that blows up the universe that was laid out in the first movie, and that's what Aliens does. It just does so much world building and blows that up. Is Aliens a better sequel than T2? No, T2 is a better sequel than Aliens, but they're close. They're right on. Both Jim Cameron, obviously. And speaking of Jim Cameron, like I was reading this thing about like he's doing all these avatars. Like the next Avatar is coming out next year, like Christmas, like 2022, and then there's going to be four movies. Like, does anybody give a shit about Avatar? And I know it's crazy that it's the number one movie of all time. For a time, Avengers Endgame took it over, and then they re-released Avatar in China, and then Avatar took over the top spot again. But that movie came out like 2009, and I know it did really well. But does anybody give a shit about Avatar? Can you sit here and tell me anything in detail about Avatar, like the first movie? I mean, is this going to be one of those things that comes out and does like terribly, and it's going to be like a big embarrassment to Jim? Because I feel like Cameron is so deep in the weeds with Avatar that he just thinks this is going to be some amazing. And look, you got to give Jim Cameron credit. Maybe he knows something that we don't, and everybody will get reinvested in that universe when this next movie comes out. That's possible. But Jesus, like I so don't care about Avatar. I didn't really care about it when it came out because I know it was a big deal because it was like 3D and it was filmed. It wasn't a movie that was converted to 3D. It was filmed in 3D. And I saw it in the theater in 3D, and I was just like, okay. But I didn't care. I had no emotional investment into any of that story or the characters. And I just feel like he's completely wasting his time. He's like, he's Jesus. So I don't know. I mean, what do I know, right? But nobody I know cares about Avatar. I'd love to hear from the one person that's like eagerly anticipating Avatar 2. It's just, yeah. Ghost of Kelly Cute. I honestly don't watch many movies anymore. I like series better because I feel it goes more to... That's been true for a while, although I feel like that's kind of running out. Like this whole TV shows are like better than movies now. I feel like that's kind of... I feel like they both stink now, TV and movies. That was true with like when you had like, The Sopranos and The Shield and like The Wire and then Breaking Bad and there was some big key show, like even like Mad Men or stuff like that. And now you've just got shows that are trying to be those things and they're not. That's at least my opinion. I have not watched every show. The first Avatar was woke. Imagining how nauseating the new ones will be. I actually forgot that there was wokeness in them because I can't remember any details about it. I remember that one like blue woman who was played by what's her name, Zoe Saldana or whatever, the one that's in Guardians of the Galaxy, and is like Uhura in the J.J. Abrams Star Trek. She lets out this primal scream as like this like blue character, and I'm like, oh, you kind of saw that coming a mile away. Isn't that always the way? Like where there's the female scream, in any kind of movie like that, the scream of agony and rage. And I remember seeing it in the theater, like rolling my eyes, like, oh, they had to get the rage scream in from the primate native, whose people has been pillaged by, the evil humans. Like that's, I mean, I can list like 5 or 10 movies that have that same scream. But yeah, I don't know. And then who's the lead of it? It was like Sam something. Like I can't even, and I'm not even joking. I can't remember any details about that movie. I feel like somebody needs to have an intervention with Jim Cameron, or that intervention had to happen like probably years ago before he started developing these. But it would be very interesting to see this time next year when the movie's coming out, like how it does. Who's the better actor, Perry or Tommy Wiseau? I'm gonna go with Perry. If Perry gets the right character, Perry can knock it out of the park. I'm not a Tommy Wiseau guy. I'm not even a Room guy. I know people love The Room. I don't get it. Jake Sully, is that the character's name or the actor's name? I don't even know. For real, I don't even know. the whole theme of Avatar is based around colonialism and the destruction of the environment. Right, of course, that was hammered in pretty hard. I don't mind it then, but I guarantee it'll be way over the top now. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where like the the theme, was not subtle at all. It was like hit over your head with like a sledgehammer. Sam Worthington, that's it. He's an embarrassment to Australia. Don't know. I didn't even know he was Australian. That's how little I know about him. What else was he in? God, I swear to God, I could not. If you said Sam Worthington was the character's name, I'd be like, yeah, that sounds right. That's how little. That's how little I know about that movie. I've never seen it since. It's never even played. Like I've never seen it on cable since, or been on an airplane where it was an option. Like I've never seen it since that one time I saw it in the theater in 2009. And I normally, if I even liked the movie remotely, I might revisit it. Oh, he was in Terminator Salvation. That's right. That's the that is that the one with Christian Bale? I was gonna say, is that the really bad one? But they're all really bad. Like anything after Terminator 2. I'll say Terminator 3 is probably the best of the sequels, and that's pretty bad. He was in Tombstone? Who was he in? Jesus. Man, I don't know anything. I used to think I knew stuff like about like pop culture and stuff. I don't. Hey Otis, how are you? It's going pretty good. We're wrapping up. If you missed the announcement, I wasn't doing an after hours tonight. He's been in a bunch of shit Australian films. He's got charisma. He's got a charismaless zilch. Nobody here gives a shit about him. Yeah, I guess. I guess that's true. Yeah, because I couldn't pick him out of a lineup, to be honest with you. I really couldn't. Yeah, three more. Can you imagine that? Like three more sequels for Avatar, and not one person for really, which is very strange because you would think the all-time box office record holder film, which is Avatar, would have some supporters. But I feel like everybody saw it like back then to check it out, and now are embarrassed by it. Like they're now like embarrassed that it was ever a thing. And like there's no like, but like yeah, like if there's one, even a lurker out there, is there one? I swear to God, I'm just so curious. If there's anybody out there that actually likes Avatar and is looking forward to these movies, please speak up. Oh, and he was in the Clash of the Titans remake. I never saw that. I never saw the Clash of the Titans remake. I love the original with Harry Hamlin. Probably one of the last stop action movies of that era. Stop action, however they did it. Kind of like a Jason and the Argonauts type of style. The remake looked terrible. Did you, DJ? If you liked Avatar, that's cool. Are you looking forward to the sequel? Like, are you really like? Are you excited? Are you excited about it? So it's because one person so far that liked Avatar, and I'm not. I mean, if totally cool. I can't. I don't even have. I can't even say you're wrong for liking it because I can't even remember it well enough to think that it's bad. I just okay, DJ. Thanks for being honest. So there's one person that's looking forward to the sequels. That's cool. And you know what? I could be very wrong. That thing can come out next year and be like, hey, you know what? We should all shut up because Jim Cameron knows what he's doing. He knows how to make good movies. And it's, it's a thing. Don't care, but you'll watch. Okay, you'll still go see it. See, I'm not even on the table that I'm necessarily going to see it. But I will say this. If I hear from people that I trust and say, hey, Tom, listen, I know you have that whole spiel about how Avatar is not that great and everything like that, but you got to see this new movie and what Jim Cameron's done. He's breaking ground and it's amazing. I'll go see it. Wheezy says Jim Cameron should do a sequel to Titanic where Kate Winslet goes on another cruise, gets quarantined on the ship due to a pandemic. I'm reading the wrong one. Then she dies of the Spanish flu in the end. Well, that's going to ruin the timeline for you'd have to retcon the original because she's an old lady in the original, and the modern scenes with Bill Paxton. So that'd be problematic story wise. Did I watch the trailer for the new season of It's Always Sunny? No, I haven't seen it. I'm looking forward to it. I'm hoping it's good. Always Sunny's due for a good season because the past couple have not been that good. Frank has a history in business with Jeff Epstein. That's cool. I would love to see them just really go balls out and do like old school Sunny and just be terrible characters again and not have any redeeming qualities whatsoever. Jill says Avatar was so ugly I couldn't stand looking at it. I don't remember the vision. I even like the 3D. I remember watching it in a theater and be like, yeah, okay. So it looks three dimensional, but I don't think I ever saw a 3D movie after that because I hate 3D. And are the sequels definitely 3D? Like, is he filming it in 3D? Is he still obsessed with that? Sequel has been in the works for over a decade. I don't think no, it's happening. They're doing it. Like it's in the can. Like the first one's pretty much in the can. Like he's been down in like I don't know, is it Australia or New Zealand doing it? Maybe I think it's Australia. They've been filming it for forever. The best 3D in a movie I ever experienced was Dread 3D with Carl Urban. I've never seen that, actually. Weird. Never saw the Carl Urban Dread, which everybody says is good. Certainly never saw it in 3D. Sovico says maybe he'll turn it around and he'll just have humans carpet bomb the shit out of those blue cat jagoffs. The rest of the sequels are just alien crossovers. I'm in. If that's the movie, I'm in. You got my money. I'm in. I'm paying $25 to see it in IMAX. New season of Curb is good. Not so fast. I've only seen 2 episodes of the new season of Curb, and I always like Curb. The first episode's good, but second one I thought was terrible to the point where it got a little too sitcom-y for me, and got a little too absurd, almost like someone was doing a show within a show, like somebody was doing the sitcom-y version of Curb, and that's what we were watching because I felt it was a little too over the top. And the first episode of the new season was right on the verge of getting there, but dialed it back enough for me to enjoy it. And I haven't seen the third episode because I was so turned off by the second. But the previous season was great. She says, I am going to take one more shot just for you. Okay, cheers. I'm not taking any shots tonight. Titanic sequel second half. Change Spanish flu to COVID. The end. So you're going to have old Rose go on this cruise ship. That could be problematic because she was really old in 1997 when the movie came out. Now in 2021, how do you explain her still being alive? I don't think there's any more surviving Titanic people. I think there was one left, and I think she passed away recently. I could be wrong on that, though. I could be wrong. But I don't think, though. Do I like Succession? I don't. I don't know because I feel like that's a. I hate to sound like an ignoramus, but I feel like that's a chick show. For some reason, it hits me as a chick show whenever I see clips of it. So no, I haven't seen it, and I'm not really rushing out to see it. It's funny. I can't remember the last HBO show I was into. Did I ever try the pickle vodka? Yeah, I tried it when I was at Perry's. We all had a shot of it. All of us had a shot of it. It was disgusting. Yeah, it was disgusting. Have I heard the theory that the Titanic never sunk and it was an insurance scam? No, I didn't hear that theory, but that plays. There's a great movie. It's not a great movie actually, but there's a great like '80s. or late 70s movie. It's called Raise the Titanic with Jason Robards, where it was obviously made before they discovered the Titanic. The Titanic was discovered in the summer of '85 because I remember the day the news broke that the Titanic. And I remember watching the news and seeing like footage, and I could not believe it because I was always frightened by the story of the Titanic because at least when I heard it, they had never found the ship. Okay, Sandy says the last survivor died in 2009. That makes sense. But so anyway, this movie Raised the Titanic. It was made, I don't know, in the late 70s, maybe 80 at the latest, and they basically raised the Titanic because back at the time they didn't. I guess there were always rumors because I was a bit of a Titanic buff because I was so fascinated by it, and there was a couple of survivors that said that the ship broke in half when it sank. Like it went down and then broke in half, and the stern was bobbing around before it went down, but it broke in two pieces. But most experts said that that wasn't true. Of course, when they found the ship, those people, there was one famous survivor. I'm going to geek out a little bit on Titanic stuff. That she's in all the documentaries and she's in all the stuff. She was a very little girl when the ship went down, and she talks as an older woman, obviously, and she is emphatic. And this is pre-discovery, like when they discovered the ship in '85. Like there was a BBC documentary about it that I watched, and she says, "I swear I saw that ship break in half and it went down, and everybody tells me I'm wrong." And she was proven right when they found it because it was in two separate pieces. But before that, it was a rumor. It was a conspiracy theory to say that the Titanic broke in half. It was It was considered a conspiracy theory because I think most people now know. Like most people have grown up with. They've always known the Titanic as being found and discovered, but I'm old enough to remember when it was discovered, and it was a major deal. But anyway, the movie Raise the Titanic. They raise the Titanic. They literally raise it, and they bring it up to the surface, and it's crazy. It's this crazy, whacked out movie with Jason Robards, and I can't say I recommend it, but if you're into that kind of like kitschy, made up like history type stuff, it's worth watching. But it's it's weird. It's a weird movie because they literally raise the whole ship and it's up and it's all rusted and stuff and it looks like the Titanic, but of course it's not the Titanic because we know that it, all the water pressure and stuff like basically crushed it and made it like almost unrecognizable. There's a theory that an iceberg didn't sink, but there's some kind of submarine that launched a missile. Yeah, that's got to be crazy because so many people, everybody on that, every survivor talks about the iceberg and how, the movie actually does a really good job. Again, I'm speaking like I was there on the ship, like, but just from all the survivor stories that's in the movie, like the way you see it when it like rubs against the iceberg and it just kind of dings it, and they all corroborate with that. So that sounds like, I think I've heard that before. I think I've actually legitimately heard that story. Were there even were there even torpedoes invented in 1913 when that was it 1913 or 1912 that the Titanic sunk? I think it was 12 actually. I'm not sure. Anyway, I can go on and on about the Titanic, but I won't. Sully Sullenberger would have landed. This is what I don't understand about that Sully Sullenberger thing. Here's what drives me crazy about it. How is there no fucking amateur video of that goddamn plane going into the river in New York City? Because that happened in 2009. iPhones were available, I think, at that point. It was right before smartphones. It was right before 2009. Some people still had flip phones. You had Blackberries or whatever. So smartphones were not rampant, but literally it's New York City and there is a plane landing in the Hudson River There's office buildings. There's buildings. There's people outside. I know it's January and it's really cold. There is no amateur video of that plane going down. The only footage you have of it is from that Clint Eastwood movie. The only and then you see it once it's in the water, but there's no. There might be a still photo of it like right before it hits the water, but that still blows my mind. Like there's footage of everything else, but like a major event happens in New York City where a goddamn jet lands in the Hudson River, and there's nobody that has footage of it at all. It's crazy. I'm not saying it's a conspiracy theory. I know it went down and everything. Do you think if it happened in July, it would have been better? Like there would have been more people like whipping out their phones and filming it. Like there's nothing. Didn't the Edmund Fitzgerald break in half? One of the last concerts I went to before the coronavirus was Gordon Lightfoot. Um, I don't know about the Edmund Fitzgerald actually. I can't speak as an authority figure on that. Did they have shitty submarines in the late 1800s? Okay. I don't know. That's a good conspiracy theory. Tracy says the Titanic was actually swapped with the Olympic because the Olympic was damaged so bad it couldn't be fixed, or better yet, insurance was not going to pay it out. So they swapped the two ships, and it's the Olympic that actually went down. That's a good one. That's a good one. There's a cool spot if you're ever in New York City. I think it's off 13th Street anyway, it's towards the west side where you get to the piers, and they have the names of the piers, and they're not really in great use today, but there's a big like pier sign that's kind of oh geez, it's very faded, and there's like it's been used for other things, but if you look really closely, it's still there to my knowledge because I saw it a couple of years ago when I had a friend and I was taking him around. I said, "Hey, do you know where you are right now?" And he said, "No." I said, "Well," I said, "this is the dock where the Titanic was scheduled to come in and dock. Like this was their dock. This was supposed to." Uh, be the place where it came in, and I believe what's the Carpathia is the ship that brought the survivors in, and they docked there. Anyway, you can see on the sign, it's very faded, but you can make it out. It's on YouTube actually. If you look it up on YouTube, you can make out that it still says White Star Lines underneath. You have to look really carefully, but it's still there, which is kind of amazing because it's like, God, it's well over 100 years now, and you can still see it. It's a very unique piece of history in New York City. If you're walking around, like you can see most of the stuff, but I always like if I'm in that area, I'll walk somebody by it. I'm like, hey, do you know where you are? Do you know what this is? And you look up at the sign. It's like, yeah, because you won't see it right away. You got to really look closely. I was like, no, really look closely. You can't do it at nighttime necessarily, but. And then I said, "What does it say?" And he's like, "Oh, White Star." It's like, "Yeah." And now you got to know what White Star Lines is. You got to know that that's the company that ran the Titanic, and you got to know that whole thing. But it's a cool thing to see. It's very, of course, there's no real dock there anymore. Like there's no, ship that's in there right now or anything like that. But back in the early 1900s, that's where all the ships came in. To bring people to the New World and everything. So it's a very little. If you ever find yourself in New York City, I recommend at least walking by it and checking it out because it is very. It is a piece of history. I don't know how long that sign's going to be there for, or why they haven't preserved it in some way. Yeah, Ghostbusters 2 had that. I don't know if Ghostbusters 2, the filming of it, had a. Had a like if they were accurate to exactly where it is. What would be my favorite horror movies, Otis? I've said that. I'm a sucker for slasher movies. I like the first Nightmare on Elm Street. I like Basket Case. I've talked about that, and I like the first Halloween, and I like a lot of obscure, like shitty ones too. My wheelhouse with horror is mainly 70s and 80s. I don't go. I really outside of once you get into the 90s and like 2000s, very few and far between. But anyway, um, that's I think that's gonna do it for me tonight. Uh, as I start shivering in this room. Yeah, I know a lot of people like a lot of traditional horror fans like snub their nose at people that like slasher movies. I don't know. I kind of grew up with like Jason. I know, and I know. By the way, I know all of the Friday the 13th movies are hot garbage, but I have a fondness for them. I like most of them, not all of them. Oh, did you watch? Okay, Didn't we talk about Miracle Mile recently? Yeah, I'd like to see that again. Miracle Mile. I haven't seen it since it came out. Poltergeist scared the living shit out of Tracy when she was a little girl. You know what? Poltergeist never scared me because I love the movie so much because I was the exact same age as the little kid in the movie. And when I look at Poltergeist, it just kind of seems like a bit of like 80s nostalgia for me. In many ways, the way E.T. is. But I know it's scary and it's stuff. I haven't seen it in many years. But yeah. Jason Goes to Hell is one of your favorite childhood movies. That's insane. That I've never heard anybody say that. I don't even think I've seen that movie start to finish because I can never make it through it. My favorite Friday the 13th is part six, and with nods to part four, three, two, and I like eight, even though I know it's not one of the not one of the best. Slasher films have their charm. Don't let horror snobs rent space in your head. I know. I always feel embarrassed to say that I like slasher movies because that's my favorite brand of horror. Like it is. If I'm being honest, that's what I like. That's what I like. I don't buy into that conspiracy theory of Jesus with Steven Spielberg and Heather O'Rourke, who's the girl from Poltergeist. I think that's a real nasty, nasty rumor. That's never. There's no way to really dive deep into that. I've heard that. I don't buy into that because yeah, I think that's a real ugly one. Jason Goes to Manhattan, right? Even though most of it takes place on the cruise ship, and that's the annoying factor of the movie. Also, it makes no sense why a cruise ship starts in a lake and somehow makes it to Manhattan. But we'll forego that. The movie just didn't have the money to film in Manhattan. But the shots of Jason in Times Square are still, to me, one of the best iconic moments of any horror movie because that just shows you how far that shitty little franchise went from the very first Friday the 13th movie and then all the shitty sequels and then you have Friday the 13th part 8 and even though it's just a couple of minutes in the movie the shot and they really shot it in Times Square. That's the most money that franchise probably ever spent was blocking off Times Square to shoot Jason in actual Times Square. Now every other part of Manhattan in that movie is like shot somewhere else, but the Times Square stuff is real and I love it. Like when Jason's walking down the street and like he smashes the boombox of those like punks and then it's great. That's great shit. That's just great shit. I love it. I love that visual. Yeah, huge John Carpenter fan. I love, obviously, first Halloween, The Thing, not so much Escape from New York, but I respect it and like it. I love Big Trouble in Little China, and I love They Live, and probably a bunch of other ones I'm not thinking of. Disagree with you, Jesus. Friday the 13th and Halloween don't suck. And Freddy is not the greatest slasher series ever. Because Freddy turns into a stand up comedian after the first movie. Freddy is legit scary. The first Nightmare on Elm Street, that's a scary movie. The first Friday the 13th is, not sorry, the first Nightmare on Elm Street is a scary movie. and he's scary, and the concept of him is scary. And two is a very different type of film, and it's fine. It's whatever. Three is very good, but it's when he becomes cartoonish, and then by four or five, he's not even scary anymore. You're just waiting for his one-liners, and at that point you're rooting for Freddy, because the characters in the Nightmare on Elm Street movies are so forgettable after, say, the third movie. You're rooting for Freddy, and that should not be. You should not have a slasher series where you're rooting for the slasher. You should be at least rooting for one person to survive, and that's where a slasher fails. And in the later Freddy movies, you're not rooting for them. You're rooting for Freddy, and that's not good. I mean, and you could say that you enjoy rooting for Freddy, but the movie is a failure if you're rooting for Freddy. You should still have some kind of sympathy for one of the protagonists. So Freddy's not effective after part three. So therefore, the Nightmare on Elm Street series does not hold up in comparison to Halloween or Friday. Sorry, and I'm not saying all the Halloweens are good or all the Fridays are good. Not true. Never saw the Halloween. No, sorry, never saw the Nightmare on Elm Street remake. I've heard mixed things. Yeah, I still haven't seen Halloween Kills. At this point, I'll probably just wait till next year. I'm not dying for it, but yeah, I've heard, I've heard bad things about it. Yeah, I saw Frankenhooker a long time ago. I don't remember it. And by the way, I'm not bashing. I like Freddy. I went as Freddy as Halloween when I was a kid. I had the glove, although the knives were plastic. I had the glove and everything like that, and look, if I could have a prop from any horror movie, I would want Freddy's glove. That would be my number one. The Freddy, more than Jason's mask or the original, if Michael Myers mask or any prop from any horror genre movie, Freddy's glove, 100%. That's what I would want. So I do like I do like Freddy. I just don't think he's effective as a true. He's not in the league of Jason or Michael Myers. And by the way, and both Jason and Freddy are not in the league of Michael Myers. Michael Myers stands on his own because the first Halloween is a real movie. Much in the sense that the original Nightmare is kind of a real movie. It's very effective. Halloween Kills is not a good movie, but it's fun. Leprechaun in the Hood. I actually saw Leprechaun in the Hood. I saw Leprechaun in the Hood before I saw any other Leprechaun. For some reason. I think I watched it with a bunch of friends, like drunk. I want Al's remote from Quantum Leap too. I guess they're doing a Quantum Leap revival, and clearly they're doing it without Dean Stockwell. I'm wondering how that's going to be. I never saw Reanimator. And I've never seen the Phantasm series. I think I saw Phantasm 2. Right? I think I've seen it because I don't have a very good memory of it. I'd like to see that. And the Hellraiser series. I never really got invested in that either. I've never seen a Leprechaun movie that's racist towards Irish people, and I won't be a part of it. I respect that. I don't think you're missing anything. I don't think you're missing anything. Slug says Jason and Freddy both have both been a bit comical at times. Michael Myers has always been straight and evil. Yeah, more legitimate villain. I agree with that. But Jason's comic turns are very rare. I mean, there's the moment where he lifts up the hockey mask to the punks on the street of Times Square and scares them, which is kind of a comical turn, and you buy into it because of the ridiculousness of Jason being in Times Square. And there's a couple of other things that he does, like, spiteful kills or whatever, defiant kills, when like a teenager like pisses him off or something, but not on the level of Freddy. Freddy like should be playing, like doing open mic, like it just gets cartoony. I never saw Freddy versus Jason straight through because it just didn't feel, I didn't feel like I was watching real Jason or real Freddy in that movie. Like I felt like there was so many liberties taken with both franchises by that point that I didn't feel like there was, like a Freddy Jason would have been awesome like the early '90s. I felt by then it was way too late. Didn't care. Did I see The Lighthouse with Robert Pattinson? Yeah, we talked about that like 2 hours ago. Yeah, my quick answer with that was I thought it was too artsy. I liked elements of it, but a little too artsy, and I hate movies that are weird for the sake of being weird, and you know that's what I felt that was. Pinhead versus Candyman, who wins? That's a good one. I like Candyman. I like the original. I'm not still not seeing the original. Not the. I still haven't seen the remake of Candyman. Hey Tom B, love the stream. Do I ever plan on doing a formal job performance review on Perry? Could be Golding. I feel like I do that every stream. Like when I'm like, hey Perry, you're acting like a lunatic, or stop darting out of the chair, stop playing with your desk. I feel like that all goes on his permanent record. I would like art house, not art house. I would like lighthouse, lighthouse and art house kind of roll off the tongue. If it was a little more mainstream, like give me the premise, still do it in black and white, have the same cast and everything. Robert Pattinson can be replaced. I'm not a big Robert Pattinson guy, but it's just a little too arty for being. And Mumble says right, A24 does that whole company. They feel like they have to make a film. I feel like they try extra hard to make movies that feel like they come from the '70s, which is not a bad thing. But I feel like I think they push for that aggressively, and it's just a little. And maybe I'm just too dumb. I like a little bit of a more mainstream ending or mainstream resolution. And what I mean by mainstream is just something that I can, tell me what happened. Don't give me a black screen and say, oh well, now you have to figure it out. No, I don't want to figure it out. Like Sopranos, like the ending of Sopranos. It's bullshit. That's why I never buy into, like I know I'll get interested in a theory of what happened to Tony Soprano, but if they don't show it on screen, it's up to you. And if it's up to me, then nothing really happened. It's just you know they're the only company that copy protects their DVDs. Is that true? Like there's like you can't get through their copy protection. I would imagine most copy protection's been defeated by now. There's a scene in Texas Chainsaw 2 where a guy has his face cut off by Leatherface. I know the scene you're talking about. And then the guy's wife tries to place the skin back on his face, and the visual's burnt in your mind. Yeah, I've said I love Texas Chainsaw 2. It's to me it's better than the first. Yeah, American Psycho was like that too, right? And I like American Psycho except for the ending. It's bullshit. I want to what am I supposed to believe that none of that stuff happened because it doesn't play, doesn't make any sense. Chase never confirmed that he dies. By the way, it's like never. He's never said that. He's never given a hard. But I got news for you. Even if he did confirm that he dies, it doesn't matter. If you didn't show it, it didn't happen. If it doesn't happen on screen, it doesn't happen. And you could say, "Oh, this happened." Like people can justify Star Wars being shit. Like, "Oh no, but this book was really good." They really explain that in this book. I don't care about your goddamn books. It didn't happen in the movies. It didn't happen. That's all expanded universe shit. It didn't happen. So you're gonna tell me Tony died or Tony walked out of that place fine? Cool, but it didn't happen on the screen. It didn't happen. So you're left to your own decision. Show it on the screen. If you're David, you want to kill Tony Soprano, show it. Sorry, show it. Or at least cut to black and have a gunshot sound or something. Don't give me this black screen nonsense. That's too art. That's too art housey. And what I don't like about Sopranos in particular is you've not been the kind of show that does that. You're not this kind of show that you've shown everything. You're not that. There's artsy things in Sopranos, but it doesn't go into this like whole thing. Yeah, and it can imply it all at once, The Sopranos, but it didn't show, didn't see it, didn't happen on screen. In my opinion, didn't happen. Have I seen the new Sopranos movie? No, and I will not see it. I have heard too many things from too many people how awful it is. And I'm not one of these people that worships at the temple of Sopranos. I'm not. I liked it when it was on. I watched it when it was on. I've not really given it a rewatch or anything like that. I see clips on YouTube all the time. Like, oh, I remember that. That was funny when this, and that. But yeah, I'm not that invested in Sopranos lore. But everybody, even diehard Soprano fans, have said that movie is garbage, pure garbage, like really bad. Kitty never watched Sopranos is worth watching, but know that you're gonna have you're not gonna get that full closure at the end. And, for a universe you spend so much time in, I do want proper closure. For anything. And really, it's sad to say, but there's been very few series finales that you walk away satisfied from. Like, oh, that was a good series finale. That was a good. That was a good. That was good closure. My thoughts on Revenge of the Sith. All the sequels suck. Oh, no, sorry, all the prequels suck. Uh, Sith is the one that sucks the least, but it's still bad because it carries so much baggage from the previous film. Very lackluster, looks fake. CGI effects age very poorly. Um, you know, if I was Lucasfilm, I would take all of the prequels and scrub them um, completely, and go into it like um, go into like alternate takes and try to find better takes of certain things. Completely recut it, and then do the special effects completely from scratch using today's technology. Maybe they'd be a little bit more palatable, but I don't like the. I don't like the thing. It's kind of similar. I'm going tomorrow night. I'm seeing Rocky 4 in the theater with some friends, because Sylvester Stallone has gone in and completely recut Rocky 4, which is kind of like and almost like an '80s music video. But he's completely. I mean, I've seen enough like footage of him, like where he talks about his approach, where he said, I was going in for a light haircut with Rocky 4, and I was going to trim this and that and change this, and I completely shaved its head. And there's like 45 minutes of new footage, but the movie running time is almost the same. So he's cut a lot out, replaced a lot. So I'm very curious to see what he did with it. So I'm seeing that tomorrow night. But I would like to see something similar done with the prequels, but I don't care that much. I really don't care about I don't think about them. No, they're better than the Star Wars sequels, of course. Breaking Bad had a good ending, yes. Little over the top. Little over the top in parts. Little over the top. You hope it's 40 minutes of the robot? Yeah, I think the robot's gone, unfortunately. I'll tell you, one of the best series finales I ever saw was, I don't know how many people saw the show The Shield with Michael Chiklis, which is about like, bad cops. The Shield has, for my money, probably the best series finale that I've seen in the past 20 years. And it's better than Breaking Bad and anything else. I'm very curious to see how they'll wrap up Better Call Saul, even though I'm a full season behind. I'll probably have to catch up on that. I do enjoy that. I'm curious, because that's a different thing. Like they have to wrap that up in a way that lines up, which has already been established. Oh, you pass the Breaking Bad car wash every day. That's cool. I never saw Sons of Anarchy. And Ash vs. Evil Dead, that didn't have closure, did it? Didn't it just get canceled? There's no closure with that. And I've never really seen. I've only seen the first few. Well, one of the things, like almost his 30 minutes of Apollo getting his ship beat down. One of the things that Stallone said is first of all, he hated killing Apollo in Rocky Four, and if he had to do it again, he wouldn't do it. But he says he hates in the movie where Apollo just gets annihilated, and apparently in this new version of Rocky Four, you see Apollo give a little bit. You see Apollo like actually get some good shots in, and he doesn't just get the crap beat out of him. Like he actually puts up a fight, and he doesn't go out like a big pussy. So that'll be interesting to see. I haven't seen Rocky Four in a long time, and I'm going with two friends. Actually, one of them is my personal trainer, like and he's a huge big Italian like Rocky fan, and my one of my best friends who's also a huge Rocky fan, and they're way more into it than I am. So we're going out to like steak dinner, having some cocktails, and then we're going to go see Rocky. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays. I don't think I've seen it in the past 30 years. I don't think I've seen it as an adult. Uh, Jesus, I can talk about the Superman 2 Donner cut for another 2 hours, and I'm not going to. Let me just tell you, I had a little something to do with the Donner cut even coming to light, in a very strange way. Because I was obsessed with Superman 2, and I knew the whole behind the scenes of it, and that there was this other version of it that existed. The problem with the Donner cut is he went too far Donner when he didn't have the material to use, and it should have been more of a hybrid of the two films. I always really craved to see the footage of Superman 2 with Marlon Brando, because Marlon Brando's not in Superman 2, the theatrical version, for many reasons. And when I finally saw it, I was disappointed, and I think honestly the theatrical is the better version, which I never thought I'd say. No, I didn't see the 30 for 30 or Rocky versus Drago. I'd like to see it. I saw some YouTube documentary on the making of it. Who is the best Batman? Kevin Conroy is the best Batman. The voice of Batman from the animated series. If you're talking live action, that it's not Ben Affleck and it's not Christian Bale. It might be Michael Keaton, and to be honest with you, Gene Hackman is not the greatest Lex Luthor because he was not true Lex Luthor. Like that, it wasn't. They gave a lot of leeway to the '70s movie version of Lex Luthor. Probably on screen, he's probably the best, but a little too cartoony. A little too cartoony. I'll tell you who got the Superman the animated series got Lex Luthor right. That's what Luthor should be. He should be a big, like brooding, intimidating, physical presence. Business guy, cutthroat, and everything like that. He's a little too goofy, Gene Hackman, but I still love him actually. But yeah. Anyway, look, fuckers got me on for like 2.5 hours. I gotta go. Good, very good stream. Minus Perry's blow ups and stuff. And I'll talk to you guys on Friday. Yeah, I'll talk to you on Friday in some form or another. Have a good night and sweet dreams. And there was something else I was gonna say. I can't think of it. Anyway, everybody have a good night. Everybody have a good Thursday, and we'll see you for Mailbag Friday. Good night.